Well, good morning. It's a little early out here. It's gonna be a warm one today, so we're gonna try to get this done before it gets too hot. I don't do a lot of tool reviews, or at least I haven't done a lot of tool reviews. I've done some on some tools that I have purchased and that I own and I use, and so kind of just giving you a how-to, how they work. So they're not less of a review per se, as much of a instructional video. And I've never done a sponsored tool review, but today is a little different. XTOOL sent me this AD20 Pro OBD2 scanner for iPhone and Android. Asked me if I'd give it a once over and tell them what I think of it. I've had a couple of these little scan tools over the years. The one I currently have, I've had it for a couple of years. I've done a video on that. You'll see it up here. I'll link it down below as well. It only works with Android. And I had an Android phone when I got it, and it was fine. And then I switched to iPhone, and I had to keep my Android phone just so that scanner would work. It's a really nice scanner. I do like it. I've had it for a while, and I've used it quite a bit. This is nice, though, because it works for both Android and iOS. This is also about half the price. I think the one I got, I paid about $100 for it. I think it was $89 about 2.5 years ago. And it's a little more than that now. And the same version of that, I think it's called the MX Plus. I can't remember now, but the newer version of that same Bluetooth scanner is that works for both Android and iOS is about 120, 115, something like that. This is 55, so quite a bit cheaper. I have another XTOOL product, and I've had good luck with that. So the price points are really good. The products are pretty good, and so I expect this to work pretty well. But we'll see. We'll give it a whirl, see how it works. I got my daughter's car here today. She had a little minor fender bender, and quite literally bent the fender. So had to get that straightened out for her and get her car put back together a little bit. Everybody's okay, so no issues there. When I was working on it, I noticed she's got a couple of warning lights on the dashboard. So that's pretty handy. We'll use a tool and we'll see what those are for and what we can do about it. Let's take a look. She's got a little bit of a thing for cows, as you can see. I should have brought a knife out, I guess. This doesn't want to open. All right, there we go. We'll open it from the bottom. These tools are pretty simple. Not much to them. You got, a quick start guide. Anything else in the box? No. So you got this tiny little tool. Boy, it's really small. This works on Bluetooth. And got a quick startup instructions. I'm assuming you need an app. Yep. There's a QR code to get the app. So let's do that. The app does not have real great reviews in the App Store. 2.3 stars. I don't know. We'll see. I don't put a lot of stock in app ratings. It only has 33 ratings. So the app is, I guess, fairly new, or only rated 33 times. Most people, when they rate apps, they tend to rate them when they don't like them. So I'm not that worried about it. I have to create an account. All right. If I could type, if you have an account, you log in. If you don't have an account, you just log in, and that creates your account. We don't need the instructions. So the first thing you do is you're going to activate paired device. So we'll hit that button, and it wants me to scan the QR code on the dongle. Just kind of confirm a serial number. Yep. And then it gives you instructions to insert it in. So we'll put it in the OBD2 port, turn the car on so we get power. I forget where the one is on this car. It's right here. Okay. They're all over the place. Sometimes on the left, sometimes they're on the right. Let's kneel on the concrete. That'll be fun. Start pairing. Success. So it gives, then it comes up with what car it is. So it got all of the Suzuki XL7. The VIN will pair. So now it's scanning. All right, so it comes up and says, faults found. Please perform OBD2 check ASAP. So that doesn't give it the first scan. It's just syncing with the car. So we'll say check now. So yeah, I will say one of the things that probably, I didn't read the reviews. One of the things I'll say about the app is sort of, in my opinion, kind of unnecessarily complex. It's a little bit like the animation's cool and all. It looks pretty, and if you're into that, fine. I would appreciate probably a little simpler tool, but you know, I'm a simple guy and I just want to get things done, and so this is probably geared more towards a market of people who don't really do this typically and don't understand how everything works, and so it's trying to hold your hand a little bit. So I found 8 fault codes. Whoosh. So it goes through and has found something in the control system, the emission system, the control system again. Interesting. I'm not sure why control system's on there twice. All right, let's look at the fault details. Heater control circuit, low bank 1, sensor 2. And then it gives you a critical level. Does it tell you what? Yeah, critical level 2. So this is pretty cool. It doesn't just give you the code. It gives you kind of a generic description and a reason for the code. Like on my other one, it just gives you the code. You can then, click on it and it will take you to a Google search. It will pull up do a Google search for that code. But this gives you some of the reasons. Now, I don't know if I would necessarily take this as gospel. Okay, so it doesn't really give a reason. It's just giving a description of what they are. ECM controls the sensor element based on signals. So repairing suggestions, fix it. That's basically what it says. This is affecting the vehicle from normal driving. Please find the nearest auto repair shop. Fix this ASAP. Okay, so it's got some exhaust evaporation. Let's see, what's this one? Oh yeah, evaporative emission control system vent circuit malfunction. One of the noted problems that she has with this car is when she puts gas in it, it doesn't want to start. She has to give it accelerator pedal. Get the revs up, and then it'll start, and keep revving it a little bit for 30 seconds or so. Not a real long time. Just keep the revs just slightly elevated, and then it's fine from that point forward until the next time she puts gas in it. It's fine. Starts normally. So a bunch of these O2 sensor errors. Critical level 2, it doesn't say like what is the scale. What's the critical level scale? It just says it's 2. But is that? It says it kind of gives you an indicator of yellow. 2 out of 3? Is it 2 out of 2? Is it 2 out of 10? It's yellow, so I would read that in that sort of a UI kind of thing. I would read that as being sort of a cautionary thing, but not necessarily like if it was red, right? Red would be like, that's really bad. And maybe 1 is the top, 2 is lower. Like again, it doesn't really give me a good indicator of what the scale is. There's the code check, right? Code check just like any other one of these tools. It has some other features here. You can do an in-depth check. Let's see what that does. Start checking. Well, it has to do another download. Okay. Checking. Checking. Waiting. Waiting. Just watching this Audi spin around in circles. So check again. Did it change anything? Blue Jay over here staring at me like I'm under attack or something. Okay, so similar deal. It did take longer, so maybe it does a little more in-depth check. Still says 8 faults. Does it give me any more detail? No. Gives me the same thing. So it looks like it just checks more things with an in-depth check, than the regular trouble scan does, but it didn't find anything more with those other things. It was just a longer list of things. And then you can do a live data, which a lot of these things will do too. Start the car. Also sounds like it has a power steering pump issue. So it just gives you basic live data, right? Engine revs, RPMs, coolant temperature, how much fuel, voltage. So this is handy, and you can look and see, am I charging? Yep. How's my fuel look? Fuel gauge says just under half. This says 38.4%, so that tracks. And so now that it's, yep, so you got a cold start. It was the rev a little high, now the revs drop back down, 870 RPM. Throttle position sensor, intake temperature. So it just gives you, you could check more sensor data. Let's look at that. So it gives you a bunch of other things you can check and get live data. So that's handy for different kinds of vehicles. If you did want to do a tune, you can output that data. You can't tune with this, but you can read the data with it. But also you can have this plugged in and it will track. You could leave one of these. Like these are, some of these are cheap enough. You can just leave it plugged into your car all the time. It doesn't draw any power until you turn the car on. So you're not gonna run your battery dead. And you can do recordings and spit that back out. So when you're driving around, it can come back with what are we seeing? Are we seeing temperature fluctuations? Are we seeing battery voltage fluctuations? So that would give you an indicator whether or not your alternator is working right. Is your battery good? Is your cooling system working properly? And not necessarily, some of these have, like this has a temperature gauge, but some cars don't. They just have a light that comes on if it's overheating. And similar, like this doesn't have a battery voltage, so I would only be able to know that either by putting a meter on it, testing the battery, testing the alternator, or I can just use this app and it'll tell me. It'll also track your driving habits. So that's a no for me. Like G-force, braking levels, you know, if you want to put this in your kid's car and track how they drive, you know, just saying. Application center. So common functions, diagnostic. You can do a full diagnostic test, trouble scanning, in-depth, live data, a smog check. If you live in a smog or an emissions regulated state, you can do a check ahead of time and see if you are going to pass inspection. We don't have that here, thankfully, so I don't have to worry about that. They'll do a full battery check. And then if you had a performance car, you could do a performance test. So that would give you 0 to 60. So similar, a lot of these have these sorts of options on 0 to 60, 0 to 100, braking, smart dash. Oh, look at that. You can get your own custom dashboard, and then maintenance reset light. Different cars have different maintenance lights. A lot of them, the only maintenance light you're looking at is going to be like your oil, oil change. So reset your oil change light. Some of the little higher end cars, like a lot of the European BMW, Audi, those kind of cars, I think have an annual, like a regular maintenance light. Like it comes on and says it's time for your scheduled maintenance, and you go in and have them go through the full maintenance thing where they do oil and check all the fluids and suspension, and then basically do like a 117 point or whatever it is inspection. So that would be for that. This car doesn't have that. I think the only maintenance sensor it has is the oil change. Actually, now that I'm playing around in the app, when I said before, it's a little bit UI heavy, a little bit cutesy heavy. It's actually not bad. The more I use it, the more intuitive it got. And I think for a basic user that it doesn't do this all the time, that actually, like, it's probably for me as a power user, it's actually maybe a little more annoying. But for a basic user, this is actually probably really nice. It's real informative. It's real easy to use. It actually performs pretty well. The tool itself, these tools they're all the same, right? Just a little Bluetooth dongle. It just outputs. It's just a sensor that takes data and outputs it via wireless to your device. They're not that complicated. They're not that different. So it doesn't make a huge deal as far as what one you have. But XTOOL is a quality product. I've been very happy with them. I've had a few of their products over the years, and I've never had really an issue with them. I've talked to their customer service a couple times, and they've been very good. So I think it's a pretty decent tool. Pop it back out. Maybe give it back. There we go. So now we got some codes. We'll see about getting those fixed. All right, so that's basically all there is to these things. They're all pretty much the same. The apps work a little different. Some of the functions and some of the interfaces with the different cars are different. Not every tool works the same for every car. Like some of these cars, especially some of the higher end newer cars, they're a little more proprietary. They don't give you as much information. It's not really the fault of the reader per se. If you want to read one of those cars, you're going to have to get a different kind of reader, probably a pretty high end reader. Some of them you need an adapter. Like some of the, I think the FCA, Fiat Chrysler cars need an adapter. They don't just have a regular OBD2. That's, again, that's true for all the readers. It doesn't matter which one you get. There are cheaper Bluetooth readers than this one, but this is a good middle of the road price. This is the one I have typically. This is one I use every day. There's the other one. So you see they're a little smaller, a little more rounded, which is kind of nice. This one's a little squared off. I'll admit I don't leave this one in the car very often because, you know, you bigger guys, you get this. I bang my knee on it or shins or whatever. So the round one, it's a rounded edge. It's a little smaller, kind of hides away a little easier. Maybe a little easier to leave it in the car. For me, it's also probably easier to lose. It's black. It'll hide in a toolbox quite nicely. I like the bright green because I can see it and find it easier. I just went back inside to grab it to give this comparison, and I'm like, I don't even remember, where did I leave it? I don't even remember. And I looked around like, pop, there it is, bright green. Pretty easy to find in the wrong spot, of course. This would be, you know, you drop this at the bottom of a toolbox or a black, in my case, a black tool chest with black shelf liner. It would just sort of like hide in there. So that would be maybe one, you know, maybe make some other colors. But on the other hand, if you do want to leave it in your car, it hides away typically. There'll be, you know, the black just kind of disappears. This is kind of hard to hide inside the car. Not that you want to hide it, but you don't always want it in like this bright green thing staring at you from the dashboard. For me as a power user, the app was a little bit over the top UI wise. Like I would actually like it to be a little simpler, but it was pretty fast. It didn't seem to impact its performance at all. All the features, kind of feature comparison, had all the same features that the OBD Link app has. So no difference there. For your average user, I actually think the app itself probably is pretty nice. It's a little bit more intuitive, a little less techy than OBD Link's app is. You know, overall, I think it's a pretty good tool, and I'm pretty happy with it. So like I said before, XTOOL did give me this tool. I'll put a link down below to this. The link is through Amazon. I do get a little bit of a kickback from Amazon if you order through there. You know, pick the tool that works for you, for the price point that works for you. But for me, I actually think this one's pretty good. Hope that was informative. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Ouch. Kneeling on the cement was a bad idea.